Hi, Misha here. I've got another video. This will be kind of a specific one. I've already done a few on the Northrop F-5 Tiger and later Tiger 2. And also checked out the T-38 Talon. So this isn't going to be a general video. This is going to look at a very specific type and user. Switzerland. And to talk about that, we have a 1/72 scale diecast model from Hobbymaster. This is a Swiss Air Force F-5E in a typical air defense configuration. This is the single seat version. And Switzerland was a bit of an odd choice, because originally the F-5 was to be for kind of third world nations, developing nations. It was supposed to be a light fighter or even fighter bomber, but more for nations on a budget. Yet Switzerland decided it actually fit their needs very well and has used it for a very long time. The original F-5 first flew in 1959 and really got some early notoriety in Vietnam and would directly lead to an upgraded version submitted in 1970 for an international fighter program known as IFA, to which it was declared the winner. And essentially this new version was just a little bit, it had new modern avionics, it had use of more modern weaponry, a little bit larger wing, a little better speed and thrust, just all around updated. The original F-5A single seat was replaced by the F-5E single seat, and the F-5B was replaced by the F-5F, and these were often called the Tiger 2. They would go into production in 1972, and they would start taking orders. Switzerland was interested quite early on, and in 1976 they signed an agreement with Northrop to purchase 66 F-5Es and 6 F-5Fs. Actually, only the first 13 F-5Es would be built in America. After that, they would be produced under license in Switzerland. Now, the 6 F-5Fs, the two-seaters, were American-built. These would begin to enter squadron service in 1979 and were pretty quickly well-liked. In 1981, 2 more squadrons were opened up, and this pretty much freed the Swiss Air Force's existing Hawker Hunters to be kind of rolled back to the ground attack role from the original fighter interceptor, and this allowed them to retire their aging de Havilland Venom fleets. So the Venom was out, the Hawker Hunter was shifted to the secondary role, and the F-5E with a few F-5Fs were Switzerland's primary air defense. So with this in mind, in 1981, they contracted another 32 F-5Es and another 6 F-5F two-seaters, and all but the first F-5E from this batch would be manufactured in Switzerland. And orders would commence, and the deliveries would commence with the final planes being delivered in early 1985. And at its strength, the Swiss Air Force was operating 110 Tigers with 3 full-time squadrons, and the rest just kind of left as reserves and store ready. and they would fly them throughout the 1980s. Even their aerobatics team, the Petro Suisse, would adopt this plane in the early 80s, and actually did not stop flying it until last year. It's a relatively small plane, especially by modern standards. It's only about 48 feet long. It has a wingspan of just about 27 feet. It is a double engine design, and it can operate with only one engine. Its max speed is a bit over Mach 1.6, and it can cruise just below Mach 1. Has a maximum altitude of nearly 52,000 feet, so pretty good performance. It can carry a payload of about 7,000 pounds with a total of 7 hard points. We have the 2 wingtip rails for missiles. We have 2 more hard points under each wings, and then we have a centerline hard point, traditionally used for a drop tank. On top of that, it has 2 20mm cannon with 280 rounds each. So even though it's small, it's a potent little guy. Switzerland found these to be very dependable, very reliable. They were not demanding on the maintenance cycles. They were really pretty forgiving airframes, and they had long service lives, which is something Switzerland has always appreciated. In fact, it wasn't until the 21st century that they considered updating and replacing their F-5s. In the interim, they were buying some F-18 Hornets from the USA, and they did downsize their fleet for budgetary reasons in 2006, and they sold off 32 low-hour F-5s, a mix of E's and F's, to the U.S. Navy, who then updated them to F-5Ns, giving modern things. This still left a number in service, over 2 dozen. 2013, they were seriously considering going with the Swedish Saab S-39 Gripen, but a public referendum the following year, when they pretty much asked the Swiss people if they wanted to spend the money and time to go with this, was turned down. So as of last year, they still had 18 F-5E single seat and 4 F-5F 2 seats flying. But really, these are mostly used by the reserves. The frontline squadrons, the standing Air Force, are using the F-18 Hornet. Back in 1994, the Hawker Hunter was just aging out of usefulness, so they retired the existing fleet. And they did convert some of their Tigers to be a fighter bomber or ground attack. So these were kind of serving double duty, and today that's pretty much what they do. The F-18 Hornet is their fighter interceptor, and the remaining F-5Es are pretty much close air support ground attack planes. But they are still in the Swiss Air Force 40 years after they were first adopted and put into service. So pretty neat history, and it's interesting when most other modern militaries are going to big and complicated and expensive, how Switzerland is made do with a very relatively simple and straightforward, but also very capable aircraft. And I just think the F-5 is just neat looking. It does kind of have a generic fighter look. It's not really distinctive in that sense, but that's kind of also part of its coolness. And this model, like the others from Hobbymaster, is pretty much all metal, with only the horizontals being plastic, and then some of the parts. It really just comes with what you see here, 2 Sidewinder missiles, and also it has a drop tank, but if it's on the stand, you can't have the drop tank on. Of course, it has landing gear up or down, and you can display cockpit open or closed, and you can have it with the pilot figure inside or not. But yeah, I just thought, why not talk about the Swiss use of the F-5E and F, because I think it's an interesting piece of Cold War history that is carried very much into the 21st century. Anywho, if you'd like to talk about the little plane from Northrop that could, love to hear about it in the comments. And if you could, check out some of my other videos. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon next time.